He let the wind carry him off the ground, the soft tickling of the grass disappearing from under his feet. He bid the hidden forest and its creatures farewell as he was lifted into the clouds, gliding with the mantas to the next realm. It had been a few months since Hanta started his adventure, crossing the 6 realms of sky and conquering the Eye of Eden more times than he can count. He met many traveling and seasonal spirits, along with many sky kids that were on the same journey as he was. He loved every minute of it, but a part of him couldn't help but feel like the world of sky was becoming repetitive. Candle runs were getting old, and daily quests were becoming predictable. Of course, there were the seasonal events to take part in, but he had to wait another several weeks for the next season. After flying and briefly admiring the horizon above the clouds, Hanta safely landed on the soft blanket of snow. He was supposed to meet his friends at the valley citadel, but he guessed that they could wait a little longer. His candle run in the forest ended sooner than usual. Surely he had time to spare for a detour. Instead of heading down the slope leading to the main rink and valley races, Hanta turned to the opening in the wall of snow on his right, the road that opened to the village of dreams. He crossed the barrier of the opening and immediately found himself sliding through an icy road lined with stone buildings. The road stretched into a skating rink when Hanta reached the end. There was a similar rink the further he traveled through the village, with sky kids already coasting around the stone statue in the center of the rink. Hanta smiled. Ever since the season of dreams, the village had been one of his favorite areas to escape to. Buildings dotted by a warm glow from the inside, the comforting sight of snow-capped roofs, and the towering silhouette of the Valley Coliseum shrouded in a golden pink mist brought him a homely feeling. He rode the gondolas up the mountain, flying the rest of the way until he found himself at the peak. Hermit Valley had one of the best views of the realm. The sky was set ablaze in a blast of orange, cooled by the purple sea of clouds and painting the snow in a soft coral pink hue. Hanta could do nothing but stare in awe. And it seems he wasn't the only one admiring the view. Resting on his regular overlook was a hammock, and there sat an unfamiliar child. They didn't notice he was there, back turned towards him with their gaze glued to the sunset. Their hair swayed gently with the breeze, lightly rocking the hammock, and Hanta could pick up the faintest humming against the whistle of the wind. Brows raised in curiosity, Hanta ambled towards them. "Hey there." He saw the child perk up, beginning to turn towards him, and that was when he recognized the face of this child of light, causing him to pause. They were a mutual friend of Mina's, one who hadn't been around as of late, and Hanta could vaguely remember their limited interactions during his moth days. Their face was one of shock before a massive flush erupted on their cheeks, the red pigment accentuated by the sunlight. They hastily attempted to dismount the hammock, to little success when the hammock swung the other way, causing them to fall back with it. Alarmed, Hanta reached out and grabbed their arm, but the momentum of the swing caused the child to jab their leg into Hanta's chest, causing him to lose his footing. They both yelped, Hanta barely saving his and their fall, his free hand cupping the back of their head so as to not slam into the ground.
I'm so sorry,
they exclaimed simultaneously. Hanta propped himself onto his elbows, an attempt to lift as much of his body weight off them. His legs were tangled with theirs on the hammock, an uncomfortable position as their torsos had landed in the snow. Embarrassed, Hanta flapped his cape as he hovered off of them, reaching out a hand once his feet touched the ground.
Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you,
he said as they lifted themselves up.
Didn't think I would run into an old friend.
Yeah, I remember you. Hanta, right? They asked, earning a nod from the raven-haired. They nodded quietly, rubbing their arm as they turned their gaze back to the sunset. Care to join me? They gestured to the hammock, and Hanta's hand immediately found itself at the back of his neck.
As long as we don't flip over again.
His response caused them to laugh, and he couldn't help but find the light ring of their voice kind of charming. I'll make sure we don't. They sat back down, proceeding to tap the space beside them. He slowly lowered himself on the hammock, leaving deliberate space between them as he got comfortable. The cold breeze of the valley didn't hinder him at all, as he watched the clouds flow by in waves of pink and purple. Rays of the setting sun colored his face in a golden sheen, Hanta breathing out a content sigh as he lost himself in the slice of heaven before him. Beautiful, isn't it? The child spoke beside him, and he could hear that they were just as lost as he was. They shared the same sense of euphoria as they lost themselves in the beauty of the realm, only caring for the rapture and the other's presence. Hanta turned to respond to them, and his smile quickly faded, replaced with blossoming cheeks pinker than the clouds. The figure of light beside him somehow shone brighter than the rest, flowing hair softer than the clouds passing him by, the tender pull of their lips more alluring than the whole valley itself. Had they always been this attractive? Was the sunset doing something to him? Everything else became a haze in the back of his mind, a world he chose not to return to at this very moment. All he wanted was to stay in this realm, with a charmingly timid figure of light by his side. Yeah, he whispered with a small grin. He wasn't sure if they heard him, but he felt something wrap around his pinky, dark eyes darting down to catch their finger looped around his. He looked back to see their smile widen when they felt his touch, their shy gaze slowly traveling to him. The golden pink light acted as a toxin, dazed and drunken bodies slowly moving towards each other with bated breaths and lidded eyes.
This is weird,
he said with an airy laugh. He didn't mean the bad, uncomfortable sort of weird, but the oddly natural, like it was meant to be kind. Was it okay to be this intimate with someone you hadn't seen in a long time? It is, isn't it? They replied, pulling away just enough to look him in the eye. Is that bad? No, not at all, he answered without missing a beat, and they smiled. They leaned forward again, just enough for their nose to brush his, but stopped short just before their lips made contact, giving Hanta a chance to back away. But it was he who took initiative, gently pressing his lips to theirs, and his heart ignited. The kiss spoke innocence, a quiet longing for each other all this time, a hole they didn't even know they had, filled with the warmth of their lips interconnected under the fiery sky. If Hanta had to travel all the way up to the peak of the valley just to watch the flames of the sunset dance in their eyes, he would gladly make the trip again and again.